Everyone who's joining us today, thank you so much for coming out to the event, and thank you so much for joining the Ibiyemi session. She'll be talking about career mapping today, so I think that's going to be super useful to anyone who is just trying to figure out, what they want to do with their career. Honestly, I think that's most students. As a student, I can relate. So, yeah. So, Ibiyemi, I'll just do a brief intro for you. You're free to talk more about your background if you'd like, but I'm just going to keep it short because, I want to let you get on with the session. Okay. So again, thank you for joining us today. You have presented at a couple of our past events as well, I believe.
Yes.
It's always great to have you. It's a pleasure to have you. So to everyone in the chat, Ibiyemi Balogun is a manager, corporate partners at Ryerson, as well as a former career consultant at Ryerson University. She was recognized as Talent Egg's 2020 Career Coach of the Year, which is really awesome. Congrats, by the way.
Thank you.
No problem. So Ibiyemi has over 6 years of experience in business, tech recruitment, and career coaching, and is the founder of Foot in the Door Consulting, as well as an MBA candidate at Ryerson University's Ted Rogers School of Management, where she's specializing in entrepreneurship and social innovation. That's awesome. So Ibiyemi, I'll let you take it away, and I'll hop back on at the end of the session to do a brief outro for you. Okay?
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lucy. Appreciate your time.
Best of luck.
So thank you for everyone joining me today. I want to definitely engage, and I can't see any of you. So if you would love to just pop your name into the chat, say hi, engage with me, that would be really helpful. Because obviously you can see me, you can see my slides, but I can't see you. Hi, nice to meet you, Asa. How are you? I want this to be interactive. Most of my career I've spent student facing, so I fully understand what it feels like to be on the other side. Thanks, James. I appreciate that. And I definitely want to hear from you today. Okay, so a little bit about myself is I created a word cloud. I love to do this because it's definitely a good way to kind of introduce yourself. Fun fact, I almost wore that exact same turtleneck today, but I decided to change it because I was like, I think that's the photo they have, and I didn't want to be too matchy-matchy. But essentially, as Jesse mentioned, I am a career coach, but I love to do that kind of on the side as part of my side hustle, for lack of a better word. But in my day-to-day, I work at Ryerson in corporate partnerships, and I connect with employers that are looking to hire co-op students, interns, new grads, those kinds of things. But for about 3 years, I used to work on the student side. And here are some of the words that define me. And the reason why I decided to use a word cloud is I want everyone to kind of take on that practice, right? Write down some words that just define who you are, because it'll already start you thinking through the things that you like, the things that you're good at, and where it is that you ultimately want to take your career to. Okay. Big question. It's been 1 year since the pandemic. Where did you find yourself? Where do you find yourself, right? How are you? No, but like, how are you really? I think it's such a question that we forget to ask ourselves. Have you taken the time to take a step back to really look and see where you are mentally, right? Are you telling yourself negative stories, right? Thanks for sharing, my lad. I know that. I get that. It's stressful. It's tough. How are you de-stressing? How are you finding ways to figure things out? First of all, I want you to give yourself a pat on the back, because guess what? You're here. You're listening. You've engaged your thousands of students that are not engaging themselves, that are kind of crumbling under the stress. So good job for you coming out today, right? How has this season affected your job search or your career aspirations, right? I know when the pandemic hit, a lot of people were essentially looking at it from a very negative perspective. And, it was tough, right? There's a lot of opportunities that have been lost. There's a lot of lost jobs, but there's also a lot of opportunity that has now been created, right? The fact that before the pandemic, when I was reaching out to employers, it was very much like, oh, you're located in Mississauga. Let's get you a student that's around Mississauga so they would be able to hop on. Now those barriers are broken, right? I'm talking to an employer out of Calgary, and they want a student from Toronto, but it doesn't matter because we have the internet. So I want you to definitely look at your career aspirations as been open up versus closed down because the pandemic and what's going on. And I want to give you really just some tools I'm a very tools, resources kind of person, rather than just more like fluffy up here kind of conversation. I really want to get into the meat and potatoes of things. So career mapping, right? And it's kind of like a map. There's point A, there's point B, and there's all of the stuff in between, right? And I think that a lot of us struggle with all of the stuff in between, right? If you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and I'll answer them as we go along. But the way I like to think about it is point A is where we're currently at, right? So what kind of education do you have? What experience do you have? What skills do you have? And remember I talked about your perspective, your outlook. People always forget that piece. If you're starting from a defeated mindset, it's going to be that much harder to move forward. So take a pen and paper, write it down. What is the education that you currently have? What kind of experiences do you have? And I know most of you guys are students, so please absolutely count your customer service experience as important. I see so many times people saying, oh, I just have customer service. Oh, I've just waited on tables for 5 years. Oh, I've just babysat, or oh, I've just mowed the lawn. Those things are important, believe it or not. Like those are the things that are important for people to see. So don't ever discount that. The next thing you want to then look at is you want to look far ahead into where do you want to go, right? I feel like a lot of people start with where they are and then try to figure out how to get somewhere. And it's like, you can't really do that if you don't know where you're going, right? I love the analogy of an actual map, right? You are in downtown Toronto, you want to go to North York. You have to take, the highway that's leading north, right? But if you don't know that North York is where you want to end up, you could take back roads that might never lead to North York. You can take, you end up spending a lot of time wasting gas, energy, just trying to get nowhere, right? So the first step after you figured out, okay, this is currently where I'm at, is identifying where do you want to go, right? In the chat, if you have an idea of where you want to go, please put it in there. I want to take a look. I want to see what that looks like. And it doesn't have to be a perfect idea. It doesn't have to be, I want to be at this company in this job. It could just be, what kind of work do you want to be doing? Do you want to be doing project-based work? Do you want to be working in an administrative environment? Do you want to work in Toronto? Like just any kind of understanding of where you want to go is really, really helpful. There you go. You want to be a manager of a large pharmaceutical company. You must have your reasons for that because that is extremely specific and that's fantastic, right? The idea is that you identify what that end goal is, what that end goal looks like. And I'm going to walk you through how to do that for those of us that are finding finding it hard to get to that point. And then all of the stuff in between is the how do we get there, right? There's multiple ways to reach activities, but this is the place that we want to start. Okay, so taking inventory. This is basically that first step that we're talking about. What is my education? What is my experience? What skills do I have? And most importantly, what am I missing? Okay, and I want everyone, take a screenshot, take a picture, put this on Instagram, what have you. But make sure you have these questions down, and that's like step one. Because again, like I mentioned, it will really, really help you define actively where it is that you are, okay? The next step is identifying that end goal. And the reason I put end in quotations is really because who knows what that is, right? I remember being, 18, going into university thinking, yes, I want to be an HR consultant once I graduate. And then I got into that space, I got into recruitment, I got down that path, and I realized that, oh, there's other opportunities available. So when I say end, I don't mean your final be-all, end-all career. I literally just mean a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Like you get to define what end looks like for you, right? But you really have to identify some kind of goal. Or else, again, it's that idea of just driving around aimlessly. To get to that point, ask yourself questions like, what are your passions and interests, right? And I don't mean what are your passions and interests from a perspective that is very kind of fluffy. I want you to dive into, what do I like? What do I genuinely enjoy, right? And you can do that from the courses that you are studying, so looking through, and it's as simple as literally going through your transcript or going through your course calendars, or and just looking through and saying, okay, I really like this course because of X. this. I didn't like this course because of why. I really like this, I really like that. And it's just identifying that. Then I want you to take a step back and think about your interests from an individual level. So the way I want you to think about it is go through your Instagram feed. And I know that sounds really funny, but go through your Instagram feed. When you're scrolling through, what do you see? For me, I love hair. So a lot of hair products, hairstyles, natural hair, like new things that are coming up, you'll see through my Instagram feed. And that's something that I'm genuinely interested in and passionate about. That's what I want you to do. So I want you to look at it from two lenses. You as an individual, as a person, and then you as a professional, as a student, as from a career perspective, right? And we're going somewhere with this. The next step is identifying what are your abilities. So this is, what do you know that you know that you know that you know that you're good at? What are the things that your friends and family are saying, XYZ person has really good organization skills. I know that because she makes sure that she cleans her room every single day and all of her clothes are organized in color coordinated, right? That's something that you know that you know that you know that you're good at, right? The reason why we're looking for skill sets, because people identify it as skill sets, is because we want to know what you're good at. We want to know what your abilities are. And we want to see where those two things come together. I don't necessarily believe in the culture of just follow your passions, just do whatever you want, just follow your passions. I think that's fantastic, but you also have to back it up with abilities, right? If you really enjoy something, right, but you're not very good at it, no one's gonna hire you to do it. That's just honest, right? On the flip side, if you have all these abilities in these different areas, but you don't actually enjoy the work, you're not passionate about it, you're not going to do it for very long, right? So you really want to find out those intersections between those two things, right? So the first question, literally make a list, like literally make a list. Literally make a list, right, of all of your passions. Then make a list of all of your abilities. And then the third list is just looking at both of those lists and just cross-referencing what is on both of those lists. Okay, it says that I love people on this list because I'm passionate about talking to people. And then it also says that I'm good at talking to people and I have good communication skills. Maybe communication and talking to people is something that I want to do, right? And that's how I want you to kind of identify those pieces there. After you do that, you want to then identify keywords, right? So what are those pieces that are coming together? So if we look at, I really love talking to people. I have great communication skills. A good keyword that combines those two things together could be customer service, client relationship management, sales. Those are three keywords that just came off of, I really love talking to people and I have good communication skills. And that could look very different from many different people, right? After you do that, you then want to map out the journey, right? So the idea is, hey, I have on one end, I have all of my interests, abilities, my skill sets, all of those pieces together. On the other hand, I have where I want to go, which is kind of my end goal. How do we bridge that gap, right? Research. Research is how you absolutely bridge that gap. Before you, gone are the days where you literally jump into something without knowing about it. And I feel like if you jump into something without knowing about it, I don't want to say it's your fault, but it's a little bit like your resources, right? Like before buying a curling iron, we have looked at the reviews. We see what that person on Amazon said about the curling iron. We've gone onto Instagram, we've seen the reviews. We've looked at all of the postings there, and then we purchase, right? You don't buy things randomly. You don't choose your career randomly. It has to be very intentional. You have to be very intentional about it, right? We understand how to research products, but I feel like a lot of us don't necessarily understand how to research a career, right? Because there's so many things that you don't know, right? With a product, okay, I don't know where to get this product, but I know I can start by looking at Amazon. And I don't know the specific name of this product that I'm looking for, but I know that if I type in these couple of words, I'll see a couple different brands. That's the same way you want to think about your career. So in this perspective, the best place to go to is actually LinkedIn, right? Google and LinkedIn, best friends. Great place to find information about your career. The first thing you want to do is you want to do that industry research, right? And when I say industry research, what I mean is literally just picking one or two industries. So Marjan talked about pharmaceutical companies. That's an industry. And she could literally start doing her research by just identifying that that's a company, that's an industry I'm interested in, right? Where you pick the industry is based off of your interests. So I said before, I'm interested in hair. I love it. I love how it looks. I love how to play with it. I love the products. I might even pick something to do with the hair industry, right? Again, this is not saying, yes, I'm going to go work full-time at, a hair company. It means I'm doing research. I'm finding out information, right? After you pick one or two, you go into company research. That's the next step. And you identify who are the leaders, right? So with Marjan's example, Marjan, I'm going to put you on a spot a little bit. Who are the leading pharmaceutical companies in Canada? Can you give me 2 or 3? While we wait for her, that's the idea, right? You go into LinkedIn and you type in their hair company, you look through and you identify who are the leading companies in that industry. Okay, Assad says Weston. What else? That's the kind of thing. Again, we have Google for a reason. Oh, that's my fire alarm. Working from home fun. We have Google for a reason, right? And one thing that's fantastic about LinkedIn is the minute you look up one of these companies, there's a bar on the side that says people also visited X company. That's the algorithm. That's the algorithm working for you. So you don't even need to know all of the names. You just need to know one of the names, put it into LinkedIn, and then see what else the other competitors coming up. And that way you now have a list of 10 or 15 companies in this industry that you want to dive headfirst into. Marjan, I'm still waiting. 2 or 3 companies in the pharmaceutical industry in Canada. I'm still waiting, and I'll wait the whole time. But essentially, that's what you want to do. The next thing you want to do is you want to identify specific roles, right? So remember those keywords that we talked about it before? Yes, the names. There we go. There we go. Remember those industries we talked about before? Those keywords, sorry? We want to basically infuse those keywords with the company, right? So before, maybe we talked about sales and we talked about client relationship. We want to put that into LinkedIn and literally put in there client relationship plus Pfizer and then see what comes up, right? LinkedIn will always start with a people search. Thank you, Marjorie, that was great. LinkedIn will always start with a people search. It'll show you people that are doing client relationship management at the specific company that you're looking at. But what LinkedIn will also do is it'll also tell you whether or not they're actually called client relationship management, right? Half the time they could be called something else, right? So they could be called account managers, they could be called business development representatives, they could be called sales associates. But the idea is that you're not just assuming things, you're actually seeing what the market has to say, right? So industry, company, role. Then the next step is individual. You now want to talk to those people. Who are those people doing those jobs in those companies in that industry that you're interested in? Talk to people, have those conversations. This is the equivalent of that review. Like if you could talk to the person that wrote the review on the curling iron, this is what that looks like. Because there's going to be things that are on the job, on the company website or on LinkedIn that you're just not going to know, right? You're just not going to know by looking at it from an internet perspective. You're going to have to talk to someone. And I know I said that and a lot of people just kind of froze up talking to people on the internet about random things. This is scary. It is not scary. These are human beings. And a lot of people, like, again, depending on how you highlight the conversation, a lot of people are willing to actually reach out and have those conversations, okay? I want to talk a little bit about networking first and then jump back to job search strategy. But again, so let's say we find 10 people that are client relationship managers at Pfizer and we reach out to them on LinkedIn. What do we say, right? It's as simple as this. Hello, Tony. I came across your profile as the client relationship manager at Pfizer. Congrats on getting this opportunity in your career. I'm looking at becoming a client relationship manager in the pharmaceutical industry. And I was able to look through your profile and get some information, right? Would you be able to jump on a call with me to fill in the gaps with what I couldn't see on your profile? And that way, you're not necessarily asking to pick people's brains, because I think a lot of people don't like the idea of like, can I pick your brain? Because they don't know what it's about. It's so hard for them to say, yes, sure, go ahead, pick my brain. But if you're clear by saying, hey, I see what you're doing. I want to do what you're doing. I've done my research, but there's still gaps in what I've been able to see. Is there a way I can jump on a call to fill in those gaps for myself? The last thing, and I recently discovered this, Calendly. How many of you know Calendly? If you put it in the chat, whether or not you know Calendly, I'll wait. Yes, Asia, you know Calendly. It's fantastic. Yes. My pro tip is get yourself Calendly. Get yourself a Calendly link. What it essentially is, for those of us that don't know, is it's a scheduling app, right? You essentially create a Calendly scheduling app browser for yourself, and you highlight your availability, right? And once you provide the link to somebody else, they can just click on your availability. Once they click OK, it automatically goes into both of your calendars and then automatically creates a link for either Google Meets or Zoom or Microsoft Teams or whatever it is that you're using. How easy is that for someone to reach out and put in their Calendly link saying, hey, fill in the gaps for me. I would love to chat with you. Here's my link. And now you put the onus on the other person and you give them access. I can't tell you how many times people say to me, I would love to chat with you. Let me know when you're available. That is a triggering question for me. Let me know, when are you available? The reason why it's triggering for me is I work full-time. I'm also doing my MBA part-time. I also have a side business. If, in case you haven't been noticing, those are 3 different calendars. So when you say when am I available, do you mean when am I available at work or after class or in the mornings or on the weekends? What do you mean by that? And I get very, very flustered, and automatically I'm just like, oh, I don't want to have this conversation because I can't figure out when to have it. All of that goes away when you give someone a link and they see the availability, see the full calendar, and they're able to say, yes, this day at 10 o'clock, I'm available. And then they don't have to do anything else. The calendar invitation is automatically uploaded to both ends. It saves you so much time and it makes the whole process easier, right? And then you can just follow up and say, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate that. That is a very simple strategy to building up that network, but to also learning, right? And I want you to approach the job search as a learning opportunity before you approach it as a give me a job, right? So circling back to job search strategy, right? Career research is finding out more information about where you want to go, right? So it's really finding out, do I want to buy the curling iron, right? This curling iron metaphor has really gone far, analogy. Do I want to buy the curling iron? Now you figured out, okay, I've done all the research. I know that this is for me. This is what I want. I want to buy the curling iron. This is now, how do I do this? What is the strategy? What do I go about? How do I do this? Which is your application tools. So you need to make sure your resume, your cover letter, your interview, prep, your portfolio, all of those things are created and they're ready to go. And then you need to understand where to actually put in those applications. So LinkedIn, Glassdoor, going to the company website, having conversations. This is where you really spend some time going after the companies that make sense, right? The reason I call it a strategy, because how many of us know that spray and pray is not a strategy? Just let me put it out to 20 organizations and anybody that wants to interview me will then have access to interview me. That's not a strategy. That's not what we want to do here. That's not a strategy. Believe it or not, my whole career, I think I've applied to maybe 30 jobs, my entire career, because I am very strategic. I know exactly who I want to work for and exactly the position, right? But it takes a lot of all of that work beforehand before you go in and just kind of start putting things out there, right? what you'll end up seeing is that because you have a really good research knowledge and you have a really good research base, and you know who the companies are, who their competitors are, what their roles are, what it's called, you've spoken to people that are doing the role, your application is that much stronger when you put it in, when you get that referral, when you have that conversation. And that's pretty much it. That's mapping out your career. I have 5 minutes here. Questions, right? I'm going to jump into the networking portion as well. So if you want to do one-on-one, that's also a thing. But while we have 5 minutes here, what are some of your questions? I want to be able to answer them for you. If you're looking to chat with me later, you can always find me on LinkedIn at my name, Ibiyemi Balogun. Pretty boring there. Also on Instagram, Foot in the Door Consulting or Fitted. You can find me there, send me a DM, and we can have that conversation. But we have some time. I wanna answer questions live if I can. So I'll take one question and then
hi, Ibiyemi.
We can move forward. Okay.
Just hopping on to say, oh gosh, sorry, I didn't fix my camera properly. Just hopping on to say thank you for the presentation. Definitely, everyone in the chat, do send Ibiyemi your questions. She's super great. She knows her stuff. I did really like the comment that you made about, lots of people will say, oh, do what you're passionate about, do what you're passionate about. But it is true that you're not always very good at what you're passionate about. I have met, some people who wanted to go into marketing, even who were like, I'm actually, not very good at, analyzing business trends, and I'm not very good with numbers, but I want to do marketing. Like, okay. I mean,
that's going to be tricky.
It's going to be a little difficult for you.
The thing is,
yeah,
the thing is you can do it, but it's good to know that and then figure out, okay, maybe I need to take an SEO class.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe I need to, put in a lot of effort into this, right? Rather than just saying, yeah, it'll work out because I'm passionate about it. That's not how
Exactly, yeah. Like a long time ago, I wanted to do forensic chemistry, and then I was like, actually, I'm not very good at chemistry, so I think I'm going to rethink that.
That would be tricky.
When you start taking these classes and you realize, hey, actually, I'm really struggling. It may be time to rethink what you're planning to do as a career.
Exactly. And it goes the other way as well, right? Like I was very good at accounting through high school and can you imagine me as an accountant? Like no one would that would be the worst thing that you would do to me. Just put me in front of a spreadsheet all day. I love to interact. I love to talk to people. So yeah, sure, I had those skills, but it wasn't my passion. So we never think about it going the other way, but that's just as important as, yes, I love to do this. I want to build up the skills to do it versus, yeah, I have the skills, but I actually don't love it. And I feel like it takes courage and bravery to actually do the thing that, you actually love with the skill sets that you 100%, have.
Yeah. That's actually so true because I happen to be really good at, my math courses and things like that. But I also don't really want to go into finance. I don't want to go into accounting as well, right? Because I'm like, it's not the job for me, but people have told me before, you should go into this and that. It's like, I could probably be good at it, but would I really like my job? Probably not, right? You do have to consider all those things.
Just because you could doesn't mean you should.
Exactly. And I find also a lot of people will go into jobs because they're high paying or because they're going to get really good benefits, and they don't really think about, am I going to enjoy myself on this job? I find, at least to me, that's probably the most important question I have about, a career. Like, if you don't enjoy your work to at least some degree, how are you really going to make it a long-term thing? You know what I'm saying? So.
And guess what? I mentioned that I'm a career coach, so I do have clients, and I now have clients 6 to 10 years into the career that they took because of the money, and they absolutely hate it. So now we're having to start all over again with, what do you like? What are you good at? The only difference now is that their resume and their entire experience is channeling one thing, and they want to do something completely different. So now they have to tell the story of the pivot, but also diminish the other experiences. And it's just that much harder. So if you can figure it out as a student, if you can figure it out as a new grad, do it then rather than really boxing yourself into something that you don't want to do, because I've worked with students on the other end, and it's that much harder.
Yeah, exactly. That's 100% true. I definitely agree because, right now, especially if you're a young student, you're in a good position to, experiment, see what you like, see what you don't like, and, not box yourself in with a career where you're going to spend,
Exactly.
Several years, like 5 or 6 years, doing something you don't really like, and then end up having to, go to Ibiyemi and try to get help to change.
I mean, I'll still chat with you.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
still have a
I
good
mean,
time,
you know what?
but
No. Let me say this. Definitely go to Ibiyemi, but if you do have the chance now, it's definitely a good idea to evaluate your options and make sure you're actually going into
exactly.
a career that you like, right? And also maybe
Exactly.
that pays well. Yeah. So anyway,
This was
yeah. Again, wanted to thank you for coming on to the event today, and to everyone in the chat. Again, thanks for coming out. Thanks for listening to Ibiyemi's session. Reach out to her, on LinkedIn, on Instagram. She's really great. She posts a lot of really great stuff for students and new grads. So right now, this is our last set of sessions for the day. So we actually just have the panel coming up on the main stage after this, which is a panel of recruiting experts, HR experts that you can ask your questions to about, job search questions that you have. You can also visit the networking section, which is something that you're going to find on the left of your screen. It's a speed networking type situation where you can connect with other people randomly over video for, I think it's 5 minutes at this event. So it's a really great way to, build your knowledge of the job market right now and just connect with other job seekers because you never know what you're going to learn. Okay. So I'll sign off for now. If you want to stay on and see if anyone has any other questions, you're welcome to do so. I would also recommend sending your contact info in the chat so people can click on it more easily. But apart from that, I thank you, and I will let you sign off if you like. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All
right. Just grabbing my LinkedIn here.
No problem.
Of course, taking a decent amount of time.
No worries, no worries. If you want, I can paste it in for you. You're.
Oh, sure. Do you have it?
Yes, please. I'll find it in a second and I'll paste it into the chat. But I will sign off for now, and maybe see you in the networking section. Okay.
Absolutely. Right. Thanks,
no
Jesse.
No problem. Have a great afternoon.
Bye-bye.